Hello guys. I recently came across a TED video, Inside the Mind of a Master Procrastinator. And if you haven't seen the video already, go see that now. And if you have, let's proceed. And this video got me really disturbed. Basically, what the video says is that life is short, and in this short life, many people's life are actually messed up by a monkey called instant gratification monkey. So, in this video, I like to share my views on this topic and also maybe give one or two tips to how to overcome this monkey. So, first of all, it's a warning. This video is gonna be long and kind of boring. So, if you just want the tips, go to the timestamp given in the description below. If you want to take the plunge, let's move on. So, first of all, I like to talk about the purpose of life. So, has God given us any purpose? That's the question. Has God decided some purpose for us mortals on earth? And I still don't know the answer. Maybe He has, maybe He hasn't. And what the purpose is also is kind of questionable. Maybe we finish our life here on earth, we do everything good, we help others, and finally we go to God, and He may tell, well, the purpose I planned for you was to see all the Marvel movies, and you haven't seen it, so go to hell. That might happen. So the idea of God-given purpose is kind of unclear. So let's decide a purpose for ourselves. So what do we want? What is it that we want as human beings? Well, if you think carefully, the answer is quite clear. All that we want is happiness. Each person wants happiness for himself. What he wants for his neighbor is debatable, but what he wants for himself is always clear. He wants happiness. So, let's discuss about this thing called happiness. I like to classify happiness into three parts or three categories. I call it one happiness, two happiness, and three happiness. So, what's one happiness? I call this work happiness. And this one is called no work happiness. And the last one is called dopamine killers. So that's the three classification of happiness. So this one, as the name says, is all about earning our happiness. That is, we work for something and we earn our happiness. It can also be something like learning a new skill. Yeah, something you like, something you are passionate about, you are learning it. And that could also lead to this happiness. Suppose you want to learn painting and you learn it. That gives a happiness, right? That's learning. And another important part of it is creation. When you create anything, like if you create a poem, when you write a poem, or if you draw a picture, or if you make something, make a dish, or anything, any kind of creation gives a kind of, even making a YouTube video is a creation, or making a film, whatever, creation is also comes under this classification of happiness. And another thing is helping others. Whenever we help others, we feel happy, right? So that also comes under this category. And finally, one more thing is all kinds of active things like playing football, singing, dancing, whatever, even playing board games with your friends. All those are actively involved things. You are actively involved in those things while you're doing them. So all these things come under work happiness. Then what comes under no work happiness? Let's say things like watching television or mindlessly surfing the internet, mindlessly watching one YouTube video after another. Simply you don't use your mind, you just simply go on watching one show after another. And another thing is, this is a bit controversial, watching movies. When you watch too many movies, you don't actually kind of remembers what movie you saw, right? You endlessly watch a list of movies, and at the end of it, you don't really remember what the movies tells you. So something like creation, here also a thing comes called consumption. It basically means consuming anything like TV shows or anything. And all these things are kind of inactive because you don't actively participate in doing this. Like you watch game shows but you don't play games. You watch dance shows but you don't dance. So all those things which are parallel and opposite to active things come under no work happiness. All these things give you happiness at the moment instantly, but the happiness doesn't last too long. And what comes under dopamine killers? Things like drugs, alcohol, and pornography. I have seen some of my friends really suffer because of this third one here. And another thing is addiction to any of these two happiness. Yeah, like watching TV, if you become addicted to it, that is also coming under dopamine killers. So what these things do is they kill the dopamine receptors in your brain, and eventually what happens is you will lose motivation or desire. And desire is what we call life. If we want to go from A to B, you need a desire. So if you don't have desire, there is no life. So what these things do is they kill this desire of moving, of going from one point to another. So it's basically killing you. So these are the three classification of happiness, and these two are very good procrastinating agents. They these are very all these things help you to procrastinate from your life. So each person could choose between one and two. I would suggest don't go in this area, better stay within these two and choose a ratio you like, ratio which works best for you. And before you decide on it, let's talk some more stuff. Let's talk about the graph of these three things. So 1 happiness, 2 happiness, and 3 happiness. So I'll just draw the graph of each thing. So this is kind of the graph of first happiness. It's like you start doing the thing, anything under this. Suppose you like to learn magic. You start learning it. So initially the happiness kind of builds up. And this mark is for 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes to reach this state. And after this, it's kind of constant till you practice the art or whatever. And then as time passes, you become more and more happy about this. You become more content and satisfied that you spend time doing this. This is the graph of one happiness. And for two happiness, it kind of looks like this. Again, happiness here and time. So you start here, you end here. But for this, from the beginning itself, the happiness is same. It is constant till you end it, and after that, it just goes like this, and or it all also goes like this. This is called A and B. I'll explain it. So that's two happiness, and finally the third happiness. This also starts happiness. It starts like this. This is the end of the thing, and after that it just goes down. It kind of goes to negative. This is where all the regret, lack of motivation, all those stuff comes. You kind of feel sad, so you'll be happy this time, and suddenly you become sad. I think that's the graph of this one. So once you know this graph, let's talk about what I call the law of feeling. Law of feeling. What that means is, for anything, your feelings or your emotion, that depends only on the past 30 minutes. Whatever you have been doing for the past 30 minutes, that will be your feelings. That is, let's say you don't like to study, but if you study for 30 minutes, for the past 30 minutes, then you will be feeling to study more. Although it's past 30 minutes, I would like to say the effective time is just 5 minutes. From the graph you could see that in 5 minutes everything reaches the same level of happiness. All for 1, 2 and 3 happiness all reach the same level of happiness in just 5 minutes. So it is this 5 minutes which stops us from doing this instead of this. Look, this happiness gives us much more value in the long term. So only this 5 minutes is what stops us from doing this in the first place. So if you understand this, it's kind of clear that why should we choose other two when we know that in 5 minutes we'll feel as much happy as these two things. So it's kind of clear the ratio what we have to choose. So it's totally up to you. You could choose the ratio between 1 and 2 which you want to spend in your life. Again, let me repeat, it is totally up to you to decide the ratio you want in your life for each of these happiness. But if you feel compelled, if you really want to do this, but you feel compelled to watch more TV, then I have some tricks. First of all, the trick is called replace. If you want to do this, you have to replace it with this. So first step is replace, and the best trick to do that is make a list of all the things you love. Make a list of all the things you want to learn, all the things you want to actually do, which comes under first happiness. So you make a huge list of all the things you want, and whenever you get a free time, immediately take this list and select one and start doing it. That's it. Take the list, select any one of it and start doing. Personally, for me, the ratio is quite set. The only kind of two happiness I go for is movies, and that too I have decided on one movie a month. One movie a month, and I can break it if I'm around friends. That, and I can also watch TV or see more movies when I'm around friends. For example, if we go for a movie with friends, I can't close my eyes and sit in the theater. I obviously see the movie. So when I'm with friends, I could watch a movie. Other than that, in personal time, I only go for one movie a month. So let me just explain the splitting of the graph here. So the main problem about this two happiness is that there are too many of them. Like there are millions of movies, there are millions of YouTube videos and all those stuff. So you, and in this life you might have watched a lot of movies, and you might not even remember many of them. So after a time you will definitely forget a lot of the movies you saw, and it may not mean anything to you, but there might be some movies which you really enjoyed and which really helped you in life and which you really enjoyed. And I may say some movies, it may also, you may feel actually very happy in having seen those movies, but those are very less. So what I mean to say is, don't watch too many but go for some. So that's why this difference between A and B come. B is for things like you mindlessly change channels and all those stuff, and A is for limited but quality content, like you watch one movie a month or one movie a week as you choose, but good movies. Now that we talked this much, let's get back to our main topic, procrastination. So let's divide that into two. One, without deadline, other with deadline. So there are two sections. Okay, this is quite self-explanatory. These are things like your passions, like the things you want to do. Basically, the first happiness stuff. All those things which you really want to do in life. And these are stuff like exams which come up, all those things which have a clear date and you have to prepare for them. So both these, this thing doesn't have a panic monster attacking you, so basically it's a risk of never doing this, and this will at least have a panic monster which will at least help you to scrape through your exams. So let's deal with the tips. So the first tip is, as I already mentioned, make a list. Make a list of all the things you love, all the things you want to really do in life. Make a list of all the first happiness stuff. Either you make it in your Excel sheet in computer or write it down, whatever you like. And whenever you get a free time, you immediately take this list, select one and start doing it. Just do it for 5 minutes, and from the graph, you know, in 5 minutes you'll actually feel so much happy in doing that, and you'll most probably continue doing it. So just select one and do that for 5 minutes. So that's the simple tip for this kind of things. Whenever you get free time, take the list, select one and do it. And I want you to remember this, whenever you see the list, you will feel that without even finishing half of it, you won't even feel to waste time. That's the truth. And one last thing, just you are in this path called life, just turn around and look at all the time you spend watching TV or movies or YouTube videos, whatever. All those time you simply spend, and all these things are very numerous. There are millions of movies in the world and millions of YouTube videos. So in this chaos you don't actually remember what all you saw. So do you prefer that you spend all this time in learning one stuff, like one musical instrument or learning one art form? Which one do you prefer? One or two things, or seeing millions of videos and TV shows, whatever? So it's your preference. If you really feel that you should have spent this time on one or two things, you should at least do it in the rest of your life. And this looking back thing is actually a trial looking back. That is, once you reach the end of your life, you will again look back like this. And if you really feel good watching these movies and TV, you should probably continue it. And if you don't feel good, then you should probably switch things up and start learning these one or two things which you really like and which really mean something to you. Now let's go to the deadline stuff. And for this, the most important trick is having a clear priority. Whenever you have clarity of vision, then it's very easy to select it. That is, you fix the ratio of 1 and 2 happiness. You fix the kind of ratio, how much of TV you will watch, how much of YouTube videos you will watch. Just fix it and have a clear priority. And one more trick is to have a passion, or one single passion or goal. And what's the use of this? I'll probably release one more video on this thing, but it's good to have one single passion or goal. That also clearly helps in motivating you. So first of all, have a clarity of vision and clarity of purpose, and after that you should create a habit. Create a habit of earning happiness. Earning happiness. That is the first happiness. So how do we create this habit of earning happiness? It's quite simple. If you are a chronic procrastinator, then what you have to do is, each day at the start of the day, take a piece of paper and write down some goals. A few goals. The goals might be related either to the deadline stuff, the exam. Then if it's an exam, write down the things you will study that day. A few things. It might either relate to the deadline, or it might relate to your passion or goal. So write some stuff. Then what you have to do is do work. Do one thing, write it down on the piece of paper, then give yourself a reward. So reward, I prefer you better take the first happiness list. Go to this list and immediately do something from that. That's my recommendation. And another thing is, you should definitely use a timer. Like for half an hour you do this thing and again go back to work. Write down what you did, again go to reward, and write down what you did in this time, again work, again write down, again reward, write down, and so on. And if you are not a chronic procrastinator but want to tidy your life up, I would ask you to do this instead. Again, you write down the goals at the start of the day, and you finish these stuff first. Work, write down, work, write down. So you finish all these goals, all these stuff for the day, and you might take 5-minute breaks in between for taking a stroll or whatever. So you finish the work, and once the work is done, you can reward yourself. Take the list and do the things you love. So That's the trick of creating a habit of earning happiness. And at the end of the day, I will also do this with you guys. And at the end of the day, I will upload a video each day telling what I did that day. And if you want to travel this journey with me, you might come to the videos and comment below what you did that day. So let's start this journey of actually doing the things we love and also living a wonderful life. So thanks for watching and thanks for hanging around. So bye guys.